So you've decided to move to the cloud, and you think that cloud is the right approach for you to move your pretty much your workloads in your business critical applications, but you're not sure which cloud to move to or to select. Well, you're not alone. Eventually, not all clouds are born equal, and they do differ in terms of what they're pretty much designed and built to serve and support. You know, one of the things that you probably want to consider when you're planning this particular strategic move to the cloud is whether you're driven by security or you're driven by performance or you're driven by scalability or you're driven by business continuity, or what factors specifically are you looking for, or maybe by all of these different factors to move to the cloud. You know, Gartner observed in a report they've released lately that between now and 2023, more than 80% of desktop virtualization projects deployed primarily to save cost rather than to improve security or business continuity will fail to meet their objectives for a simple reason, because eventually if you take one particular aspect and you focus on it in evaluating your cloud options and you kind of disregard the other aspects, you're probably within a year or two, you'll find out that you're missing on some of these aspects, or you're missing on some of the objectives that you had at first place in mind. So what are these objectives? What should you focus on, or considerations that you should look at when you're kind of embarking on that particular journey is what we're going to focus on in the coming slides. If you look at, for instance, the hyperscalers or the public cloud solutions are available out there, you know, they're widely accessible and they're easily acquired. You just jump on one of these sites, you know, hyperscaler sites, you kind of configure or design or look at what are the products that are available for you, swipe your credit card, and that's it, you're going. Well, you might be missing a little bit over there. So yes, they are accessible, right? And yes, they're easy to acquire, but then they're generic in nature. They're not tailor-made. They're not specifically designed to meet the workload that you're looking for, or that you're looking to host over there, or even to meet the requirements from a resource and resource allocation to your applications to run very smoothly and provide you with a guaranteed customer experience. For us, we looked at 8 specific critical points that you need to actually address when planning your digital transformation project, and you need to always look at when you're evaluating your options on moving to the cloud between one provider and the other. The first question that you need to really ask is, who's going to build it for you, right? So, okay, so we found a specific solution provider, you know, and we found a specific cloud that we think has the technology and has the, you know, it takes to the boxes that we think matters the most to us. But who's going to go there and build it for you? Because if you think that the hyperscaler are going to do that, hyperscalers don't do so, right? You would definitely need somebody to hold your hand and go help you in designing and architecting and building that particular environment. And then the next question is it really over a generic stack, or is it specific stack that is designed and kind of perfected to fit your need? Has it been optimized or no? The provider or the partner that is helping you to go and build it over there on that particular stack, does he have the expertise, or do they have the expertise to perfect it for you? Have they worked in that particular industry before? Have they done it before? And what are the measures that they take or put into place to guarantee your satisfaction or nailing your objectives at the end of this exercise? Bottom line, is it purpose-built or just a generic build that we're trying to fit or make it work for you? So that's a very major question that you need to ask when you're evaluating your options and talking to different partners, and making sure that you're selecting the right partner who has built this before, specifically for this industry, specifically for your needs and the type of application that you're trying to run and objective that you're trying to get in place. The next point that you really need to focus on is, do you need to figure it out yourself, or somebody is going to help you in migrating your workflow? Because so you went there, you found exactly the right infrastructure. You think that infrastructure will meet your requirements. You think that infrastructure has enough power, have enough resources to actually run your application smoothly and provide you with all the check boxes that you've had in place in terms of security and compliance, scalability, availability, all these major elements. But then how are you going to migrate there? Getting there is, finding the right, destination is one thing. Getting your workloads to that destination is a completely different story. And then one thing that you have to keep in mind, are you risking uptime while doing so? So, the 3 major items that we think you should mind over here is the project management aspect. Is this provider that you're, banking on to migrate your workloads to the cloud? Does he have a very solid and proper project management practice in place? Because guess what? If you don't, you're gonna fall behind on your timelines, and that's this falling behind on your timelines means eventually losing a lot of money and being inefficient and unproductive for could be large spans of time. They need to ask for, is there a risk mitigation process or plan in place? What if something happens when this particular migration is taking place and we end up going down? How are we going to mitigate that particular risk of something going wrong? And things do actually go wrong in IT. So that's also another consideration, a trust between the different team members of the decision that you're taking over here to move to the cloud. Always keep in mind that whoever is going to come and migrate you or migrate your workflows or workloads to the cloud has to be someone who has very strong project management practice in place, has to be someone who's able to provide you with a risk mitigation plan if something goes wrong, and has to be someone who's done it before and who planned it and worked it out for different customers, and you have solid and foundational expertise in doing so. You know, the third item that you need to pay attention to, whether it's managed or unmanaged, and you've migrated, and now what? Who runs it for you, right? Is it going to be managed afterwards or just unmanaged and it's back to you to do so? You know, we're talking about unmanaged versus managed. We're talking about cybersecurity. We're talking about updates. You know, rest assured that the hyperscalers will not do that for you. You got to find yourself a proper partner who can manage this infrastructure for you, you know, onwards, afterwards, and make sure that you remain secure and updated, upgraded, and remain compliant. So, you know, obviously the best case scenario over here is that the same partner or provider who designed this for you at the beginning and migrated you at the beginning of your when you're planning for this particular migration. The fourth item here is cost without key components versus key components included in the cost. So, you know, many of us go out shopping specifically for a cloud solution, and the first thing we look at is the sticker price. The problem here in the cloud migration is that sticker price don't always tell it all, right? Don't says it all the time. There's a lot of migrating and securing and support, you know, costs that are sometimes are hidden and they're not as apparent as you think they are. And at the same time, you only get to know about them when you're halfway through the exercise or the planning, when you've invested time and effort and resources. So always ask for professional managed services to be combined with your solution. Always ask for a turnkey solution rather than just a price for, oh, this is how much the infrastructure is going to cost you. And then you think that, oh, that's the total cost that I'm going to probably bear, and you go and run your business case against it, and then to figure out and find later that no, there's actually a lot of other cost elements that hasn't been taken into consideration. So always make sure that the cost of the managed services that comes on top, the cost of the support, professional services that comes on top are all cooked into the final price, and look at the bottom line price tag, not the sticker price, to make sure that there is nothing hidden down there that would surprise you or caught you off guard later on down the road. Support is extremely important. We can't deny this. And the question here that comes to mind is whether you're going to get a next day kind of response or an instant support, right? We're talking about engineers over here. We're talking about architects, professional and creative designers, right? You know, people who are pretty much their time is costly, and then their time is very important, and they engage on projects that have very strict timelines and very strict project plans. The last thing you want, if any of them faces a problem, no matter what the nature of the problem is, having to spend hours and hours on the phone trying to get somebody to help him or support him, even when it's a simple problem as just changing a password or getting an application to launch. So that's a very important aspect actually for you as somebody who's running the IT environment for that particular organization, to consider that when I face a problem, whether it's a small change request here or a major issue that one of my people is having, how fast do I get access to support, all right? And probably what comes before this is, do I have even control over my environment? Can I self-serve myself or my users without having to, you know, get behind the line or open a chat box and you know, take hours and hours trying to get somebody who's expert in solving my issue or problem over here? And how responsive is your partner when you need help? So that's a major question that you need to ask, that often many customers fall behind on. They kind of undermine the importance of having proper support and proper response as fast as needed. And again, time is money over here. Not getting that kind of support means you're losing money and you're having people kind of not being productive, which is not something that you could tolerate or live with. So always ask what kind of support are there and how fast is it? Is it local or abroad? And is it guaranteed or not? Because many of them wouldn't even stand behind or guarantee or provide you with an SLA for that particular response time or resolution time when you need help the most. The uptime guarantee and an IT environments, you would think that 99% uptime guarantee is such a high number, but it's actually not. What you need to opt for is a 99.999 uptime guarantee, and has to be backed up by SLAs, because if it's not, it means nothing, right? So do not settle. Our advice over here: ask for 24/7, 365 proactive monitoring, and make sure that monitoring actually guarantees your availability of 5 nines. What does that mean? That means that your provider needs to have a SOC and a NOC capability, and has to have teams who are sitting there 24/7, 365 monitoring proactively every aspect that is happening on your SOC, on your NOC, on your environment in general, right? You should be able to, kind of spot if there is a problem or an issue that could come down the road, and you should be able to diffuse it way at a time. You shouldn't really settle for this. And then many of the providers out there would simply tell you, yeah, we actually do provide you with uptime guarantee, and look, we're providing you with this reporting tool, and they provide you with some nice dashboard that has all the graphs and the images on, how the performance of the network is. But that's not enough, because reporting is one thing. Proactively acting on potential or possible disruptions that could happen to your environment is a completely different thing. So always keep in mind that I want the 5 nines when it comes to the uptime guarantee. And I want to make sure that this 5-9 promise is backed up by an SLA that secures me or compensates me back if something goes wrong, because obviously you don't want anything to go wrong, right? So that makes a big difference. And if you come to calculate on a yearly basis, 99 versus 5 nines, the difference is huge in terms of disruption and in terms of operation sustainability. So that's an item that you always need to keep in mind. The 7th item over here that you need to consider is whether the approach itself in general is generic, or no, you're talking actually to subject matter expertise. And that makes a big difference. Because if you have IT evangelists that are coming on board and they're trying to kind of deal with your workloads and deal with your needs or objectives, just like any other industry or any other company, they're probably going to get the job done maybe right, but maybe at a different cost item or element, or maybe at a different kind of time bill in terms of how long will it take them to get it right, to get it to operate or work. And then maybe it's not going to be the perfected, optimized experience when it comes to your engineer sitting behind this particular AutoCAD, or running that particular rendering file on that machine. It's extremely important that when you have these people trying to support you and to fine-tune these applications, fine-tune the experience that your engineers and architects are going to have when they're jumping on these machines and trying to utilize your services, that they've been in your shoes. They've been behind the computer, they've been trying to design a specific, utilize or run one of these applications, and they know exactly what is the behavior of this application. How would this behavior differ between one resource and another? Know how to optimize that technology or to extract the best of that technology to serve you and your needs. So industry specialists and professionals is extremely important. Make sure that you run or you look into their resumes, look into their expertise, and make sure that these guys do actually tie in to what you operate and what you experience on day-to-day activities. It pays off to ask the question that, hey, what infrastructure are you guys running on? So for instance, what generation of processors are you running these applications on? All right, what type? Where do they come from? When were they launched? How recent are they versus old? I have seen applications running on technology that is 5 or 6 years old with some of these providers out there, which is not always something that you would want to, bank on or run your migration against. What is the frequency that these processors run at? What graphic cards are you using and how powerful these graphic cards are? Technology has been moving really quick and been kind of advancing tremendously year over year over year. So the last thing you want is to run your applications and go through this major transformation in how you operate and run your business to find yourself on a 5 or 6 years old technology at the end of the day. That's not really where you want to be. So always ask, it takes a minute, ask them, dive further and tell them, hey, what's sitting in there? And it always helps. It will shape up, pretty much it will impact to a great extent your decision over here before you jump in. Going back to how we do it, we offer what matters the most, actually. So we consider ourselves as a fully integrated solution provider. Why? Because when we go out and put an offer in front of our customers, we tell them, listen, you don't really need to sit down and worry about your computing needs going up or down, because eventually we will provide you with more computing when you need, and we will provide you with that computing requirements specifically for the user. We don't charge you for upgrades or usage. It's pretty much unlimited, whether it's a hardware upgrade, and we always keep our hardware to what the technology has to offer. Software upgrades, we never really measure how much bandwidth you're utilizing back and forth to serve your efficiency. We always tell our customers, you don't have to worry about security and compliance, because eventually we are pretty much a compliant environment, and we actually do comply with a lot of data regulatory bodies or control regulations around the world. So you don't really need to worry about this yourself. Our solution comes built in with disaster recovery and business continuity measures, like daily offsite backups and snapshots to a dedicated DR facility, rapid recovery with RPOs and RTO, and as low as 2 hours, actually. Customers don't have to worry about this. It comes built into the solution. 24/7 US-based support, as we said earlier, it really matters to get the support when you need to. Collaboration ready, and believe it or not, there's many of the solutions out there on the market today that are not collaboration ready, and I can't see how would that work with the world that we're living in right now. But yes, our solution is collaboration ready, and we've invested a lot of effort and a lot of resources because eventually it requires a specific infrastructure upgrade. We took this into consideration when we designed our solution. We even went further. We said, okay, so we've delivered the solution, and then who's going to manage it later? So our solution comes with a managed services element added on top. So when it comes to the DaaS managed services, it's built in. The solution comes with the managed services DaaS cooked into the solution. You don't have to even pay an extra charge for that particular element to be there. And even if you want to go as far as also having us manage your services, terminals that your users actually utilize to access these services, it also comes, part of our solution as an optional offering here on top. And this is actually what have differentiated us as a solution provider from anyone else. We didn't even stop here. We went even further to initiate a service line or a product family line that focuses on your BIM initiatives, whether you want a BIM implementation or look into the development of your BIM deployment in the first place and works out the particulars from there.